Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Let's Talk About Scams podcast. I'm Joyce Petrowski, founder and board president of R.O.S.E Resources Outreach to Safeguard the Elderly. If you need some resources, you can visit our website at roseadvocacy.org, and you can also sign up for our monthly newsletters there via email or in the mail. And you can also subscribe to the podcast on the website, or you can just hit the subscribe button here. So today I want to talk to you about some information that a couple different people have called in about. One of them is they've been getting a lot of phone calls. And so we talked about silence unknown callers on your phone settings, how to turn that on so it'll cut down on the number of calls you get. Because silence unknown callers will only allow a call to come through if that number is in your contacts. The number will still show up in your history and they'll have the opportunity to leave a voicemail, but your phone will not ring if that phone number is not in your contacts. So it'll really cut down on the amount that your phone is ringing. But one of the things that they got a little suspicious about was they were getting calls about saying the people were from Reader's Digest, and they had just won this big prize. They had won, one time it was a lot of money, and then some other people had said they've gotten the calls that they've won this car, like a Mercedes, an expensive car. And so, they were kind of curious, like, oh, maybe this is true. And it's like, no, it's a scam. This scam's been going on for a long time. If you engage with that person, they're going to pretend they're from Reader's Digest or Publishers Clearinghouse or whatever sweepstakes it is, and they're going to want you to pay money. They're going to say you owe taxes before you can get your prize. You have to pay fees before you can get your prize. They come up with a lot of different reasons to get the money from you with the promise of winning this really great prize. So it's a scam. If you ever have any questions on any of those, you can look up the actual legitimate website for Reader's Digest, Publishers Clearinghouse, whatever the sweepstakes is, and get a hold of the people directly from that verified website, or find the phone number on that verified website and call that verified phone number and find out what's going on. But for the most part, those calls are going to be scams. So just please be aware of those. Another issue that someone has brought to my attention is they are getting the text messages, and this has been going on for a while as well, saying that there is a package, but it can't be delivered because of insufficient address. Now, this has been going on, and then it kind of subsides for a little while, then all of a sudden it comes back. So when you get those messages, whether they're text messages, emails, whatever, don't click on any of those links. Don't call any phone numbers that are in that text message or that email. Because what will happen is you call that number, they're going to pretend to be from UPS, from FedEx, from the post office, whatever delivery service it is, or they're going to have a fake website, and then they're going to start asking you for information, and then they're going to want your credit card information. And so just those are, if you're expecting a package, which is why this one person got a hold of me, is because she does order a lot off of Amazon. And so she thought maybe it was an Amazon package that they weren't able to deliver. So you just, whatever package you're expecting, go directly to that website, that verified website from wherever you ordered, whatever it is you're expecting. And you can check out your order status and find out what's going on with it. Or if you still have questions, you can find the phone number on that verified website and call that verified phone number and talk to the people at that company and find out what exactly is going on. But just please remember, do not click on any of those links. Do not call any phone numbers that are in there. Do not reply to the text. Do not reply to the email. Go directly to the verified website of wherever you bought the product. Check your order status there to see what's going on. You could probably even see how it was shipped if it's already been shipped. And then there's a verified phone number there on that website. Call that verified phone number and find out what's going on. That is your way to check things out before engaging with that text, that email, that phone call, whatever it is. I wanted to talk to you about the emotional and the psychological effects that scams can have, not only on older adults. This can happen to really anybody at any age. But the information I'm going to give you, this is all stuff pertaining to older adults. So, a lot of times when we think of scams, we think of the financial effects. You might lose $5, you might lose $500. It could be 5,000, 50,000, 500,000. It just runs the gamut, on the amounts. But we always think about the financial effects. But you really need to also think about the emotional and the psychological effects that scams can have on these older adults. And the other age populations, they can have these same type of emotional and psychological effects too. So I'm going to go over some things. We've been doing some research on this. And so what we found is that, scams, they can lead to emotional distress, anxiety, a sense of violation. The older adults experience embarrassment, shame, and a loss of self-esteem as a result of falling for these scams. And there was a study published in the International Psychogeriatrics Journal found that older adults who fell victim to scams had a higher level of psychological distress and reported a decline in their overall mental well-being. Sometimes that could be a lot more devastating than the financial effects. But then also, let's look at the vulnerability to the financial exploitation. So, older adults can be particularly susceptible to financial exploitation because of factors of cognitive decline, social isolation, and a higher level of trust. So, and this comes from the generation that I grew up in as well. We didn't grow up with any of this technology that we have today. Our phones, they had a cord attached to them, and we couldn't talk on the phones in the car. We couldn't walk outside, with them unless the cord was long enough for us to walk outside. The phones hung on a wall or they sat on a table, and just didn't have all this technology, and we had a higher level of trust. We trusted people more. And when you take all of those factors and you bring them in, that's how you grew up and lived, and then you bring that into today's world with all of this technology, well, that's what the scammers are hoping for. So we also we want to be aware of that as well, and understand that it's okay to be skeptical. Just be skeptical. You don't have to always look over your shoulder, but just be skeptical of that contact that comes, that you don't know the person. You're not expecting that contact. It's okay to be skeptical and to check things out. We don't want to be trusting everything and everybody. So, the National Council on Aging actually estimates that around 1 in 10 Americans age 60 and above have experienced some form of elder financial abuse, which does include scams along with other forms of exploitation. That's 1 in 10. That's a lot. That's a lot. Now, this study was done, 5, 6 years ago that we found, but I think it's still valid today. But still, 1 in 10, that is a lot of older adults. And so now let's look at the health consequences. So the stress and financial strain caused by these scams can have detrimental effects on the physical health of older adults, along with their emotional and their psychological health as well. Studies have shown that victims of financial fraud have higher levels of hypertension, depression, and other stress-related health conditions. Now, that in and of itself, we all have stress at different times. We might all experience some form of depression at various times. A lot of people have hypertension. But if these aren't things you normally experience, or maybe, every now and then, but then a scammer comes along and takes away a lot of your finances, and you realize you've been scammed, oh, that just exacerbates all of this stuff. But then the financial losses also can result in reduced access to healthcare. They might not have the money to pay the copays, or the deductibles for their healthcare. So now Maybe they're starting to skip doctor's appointments and not going as often as they should. It also can result in reduced access to medication. So if they can't afford their medication every month, they might start taking it every other day. If they're supposed to take it daily, they might take it every other day. So that prescription now lasts 2 months instead of 1 month. And also other necessary resources they have reduced access to, which leads to further health complications. So I think you're probably getting an idea of just how it's not just the financial devastation that these scams can cause, it's emotional, it's psychological, it's your mental well-being, which then can also lead to reduced physical well-being as well. So we have to think about all of this. And then in previous episodes, I've talked about the statistics that have come out from the Internet Crime Complaint Center, which is run by the FBI. We don't have the 2023 numbers yet. We probably will between mid-March and mid-April have those in. But for right now, the 2022 numbers, the 60 plus population in 2021 in the United States reported that they lost 1.7 billion. In 2022, that went up to 3.1 billion. That's billion with a B. From 1.7 billion to 3.1 billion in 1 year. And that's what was reported. Now we look at that for Arizona. In 2021, the 60 plus population in Arizona reported losing about $54 million. In 2022, that number went up to over $82 million. And a lot of older adults don't report for reasons like embarrassment, fear of losing independence, lack of awareness, about available resources. So it's really estimated that only a small fraction of scams targeting these older adults are reported to authorities. So let's just say, for example, that maybe 15% get reported. So let's take those numbers that I just gave you and multiply them by 6 or 7. Now you're actually getting closer to the actual number that's been lost to scams. And you thought the numbers I gave you were devastating? Multiply them by 6 or 7. That's just unbelievable. But this is, why scams are not going away. The scammers are making a lot of money. So they are not going away. And not only the older adults, but everybody needs to be aware of the scams, what they are, and how they can protect themselves. Now, I wanted to go over one other thing with you before we close. We actually were reading a study that was called Prevalence of Financial Fraud and the Scams Among Older Adults in the United States. It was in the American Journal of Public Health on June 22nd of 2017. And some of the information in there, I'm going to read to you here. So the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has recognized that financial exploitation of older adults is a serious public health problem. And the author had some conclusions that the elder financial exploitation victimization is associated with mortality, hospitalization, and poor physical and mental health. So if you guys heard the first thing I said, mortality, it's true. I've heard from a few people that know older adults that were scammed and have committed suicide. Now, that is it's devastating and it's hard to think about, but unfortunately, it does happen. And I think this just really brings a more importance to the awareness and the education about what's going on. And it has to be reoccurring. We have to continue the education and the awareness. But more importantly, we need to continue to help the older adults with the protection tips and tools and the resources that are out there so they can put things in place to help protect themselves and be able to keep their mental and physical well-being and also be able to keep their finances that they have worked long and hard for and enjoy in their retirement. So, in closing, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that yes, there is financial devastation with scams, but we also need to think about the emotional and the psychological devastation. And sometimes that can have longer lasting and more devastating effects than the financial aspect of it. And we need to be aware of what's going on, and we need to have understand the protection tips and tools and the resources. Those can all be found on our website at roseadvocacy.org. You can also sign up for our emails. We send a monthly one through email, and we send a monthly one through the mail. You can sign up for either, or find the podcast on the website as well, but you could just click the subscribe button while you're listening here or while you're watching it. And every 2 weeks, you're going to get more information. Our whole goal is to keep the older adults updated and aware so scam prevention becomes second nature, so they can protect themselves when they are contacted, because unfortunately, everybody is going to be contacted. So thank you for joining me today. And remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you need additional resources and you want to sign up for our emails, you can find all that information on roseadvocacy.org. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to discuss, you can go on our website to the Contact Us page and send us an email. It's info@roseadvocacy.org, and we will do what we can to get that on one of the future episodes. Thank you.